Okay, let's have a chat about Tiny Tim. For those of you who have been asking me to do a Christmas Carol, this is the beginning of the Christmas Carol series. I've been putting it off. I don't even know why. I've just been putting it off. So Tiny Tim is a little boy in the Cratchit family, and he has a disease known as rickets. Tiny Tim is the youngest member of the Cratchit family, and Dickens writes him to do no wrong throughout the entirety of the novella. In fact, he's the most grateful because even though he has all this disease and his family are in poverty and it's not even their fault, Tiny Tim says, "God bless us, everyone." Mind you, that was also an exclamative, which you can comment about in the exam. The fact that he exclaims this, the fact that Dickens used an exclamative, highlights how Tiny Tim is expressing his emotion, and it highlights his innocence because obviously children speak in exclamatives a lot. They express their emotions a lot. Anyways, it highlights how Tiny Tim is naturally a nice, grateful boy, a nice child. And it gets that audience Dickens is trying to target, the bourgeoisie per se, to think about their actions and how it's indirectly affecting people who do no wrong, those who are the exceptions to the Thomas Malthus theory. Tiny Tim is essentially a microcosm for the deserving poor. He's a microcosm for children like Dickens who did nothing wrong at all, but however indirectly suffered as a consequence of the rich's greed. Because Dickens himself suffered indirectly because of the rich's greed, as his father was put in a debtor's prison and he himself was sent to a workhouse, even though Dickens did nothing wrong. When in the workhouse, Dickens was exposed to deplorable conditions. These conditions were so bad, it convinced him in his mind to begin to write for social change, or to write to better the lives of the poor, especially the deserving poor, which is why Tiny Tim is so important. So another grade 9 aspect that you can comment on in the exam is this. There are elements of Dickens in Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim indirectly suffers because of the greed of the rich, just as Dickens does. So you could argue that subconsciously, Dickens writes Tiny Tim to be low-key just like he was. Don't say low-key. Just say that he subconsciously writes Tiny Tim to be like him, or to have a similar experience that he had, so perhaps to reflect his innate desire for there to be a change in the mindset of society, for society to be more giving, to think about those in positions that are not like their own, and to encourage a change that betters society and encourages a more accepting, more progressive, more charitable society. And you should research this yourself, but you should see how charity and attitudes towards the poor changed because of Dickens' work.